The Young and the Restless spoilers full episodes Monday full October 6, 2025. Tease that sometimes the fiercest battles are not fought in boardrooms or across corporate takeovers but within the fractured walls of family homes, where betrayal cuts the deepest and reconciliation feels impossible. Billy Abbott has long carried wounds that never healed, scars not just of failed relationships or business ventures gone awry, but of the painful, complicated bond with his mother, Jill Abbott. When Billy discovers that Jill has aligned herself, however indirectly, with Victor Newman, the very man who has tormented him for years, the sense of betrayal strikes like a blade. To Billy, it feels as though his mother has once again chosen power over loyalty, pragmatism over love, and that realization sets the stage for one of their most explosive confrontations yet. The story begins with Victor and Jack, two men who have been enemies longer than most of Genoa City's residents have been alive. Their feud has shaped decades of business wars, family rifts, and personal vendettas, but this time necessity makes them uneasy allies. Both men see Kane Ashby as a threat. His whispered AI scheme, designed not merely to advance technology but to consolidate power and destabilize everyone around him, has reached their ears. For Jack, Kane represents danger to Jabot and the Abbott family legacy. For Victor, Kane is simply another obstacle standing in the way of Newman dominance. And so, against all odds, Jack and Victor call a truce. They agree to meet, face to face, not on neutral ground but within the Abbott mansion itself, a symbolic choice that underscores just how serious they are. If Victor is willing to walk into the lion's den of his greatest rival, and if Jack is willing to let him, then the danger Kane poses must truly be monumental. Billy is not privy to this alliance at first, but what he does know is that his mother Jill seems once again to be maneuvering behind his back. For years, Billy has felt as though Jill treated him as the black sheep, the one child whose failures were magnified, whose missteps became the family shame. She had always seemed quicker to forgive others, quicker to prop up Kane, for instance, or to overlook the darker sides of Victor when it suited her business interests. For Billy, those slights accumulated like stones, and now, standing in front of his mother once again, the weight of all those betrayals threatens to crush him. He confronts Jill with raw anger, his voice dripping with contempt as he accuses her of selling him out to Victor. The irony, of course, is that Jill likely sees her actions as pragmatic, even protective, but for Billy, there is no nuance left. In his eyes, she has betrayed him, not once, not twice, but continually, always choosing alliances that undermine him. The fight between mother and son escalates quickly. Billy reminds her of every wound, every slight, every time she has looked past him in favor of someone else. He tells her in no uncertain terms that she has aligned herself with the very man who has ruined his life more than once, that she has given Victor ammunition by dismissing Billy as reckless, unreliable, and incapable. Jill tries to defend herself, tries to explain that the stakes are larger than their personal grievances, but Billy is past the point of reason. He spits accusations that she has never truly believed in him, that she has always chosen others over him, and in doing so he rips open the wounds of their already fragile bond. What makes the confrontation more devastating is the shadow of Kane Ashby lurking in the background. For Jill, Kane has long been a favored son, someone she believed in even when the rest of the family doubted him. But Billy turns that trust on its head, revealing Kane's alleged AI plan to destabilize not only business rivals but the very fabric of Genoa City's community. Billy insists that Kane has been plotting behind their backs, building something dangerous that could ruin everyone, and he challenges his mother to open her eyes to the truth. Jill, torn between loyalty to Kane and the raw fury of her son, demands answers from Kane directly. She turns to him with trembling fury, asking what he has been doing, what secrets he has been hiding, and just how deep his betrayals run. Kane, slippery as ever, denies it all. He insists he has done nothing wrong, that Billy is twisting facts, exaggerating, perhaps even lying out of bitterness. He plays the victim, suggesting that Billy is simply lashing out, unable to handle his own failures without dragging others down with him. The tension is unbearable. Jill, caught between two sons, one by blood, won by heart, finds herself drowning in doubt. She wants to believe Kane, as she always has, but Billy's accusations ring too loudly in her ears. When Billy storms away, his voice filled with pain, he throws one last barb, accusing Jill of having sold him out to Victor more completely than any rival ever could. Jill collapses into tears as he leaves, the sight of her son's back disappearing down the hall, a knife in her chest. For all her strength, for all her bravado, she is still a mother watching her son slip further and further from her grasp. Meanwhile, Victor and Jack, in a rare moment of unity, press forward with their plan. They do not care about Jill's tears or Billy's rage, their focus is fixed on Kane and the danger he represents. Their alliance is temporary, built on necessity rather than trust, but it is enough. In a dimly lit corner of the Abbott mansion, the two titans map out strategies, combining Newman ruthlessness with Abbott cunning. It is a partnership no one in Genoa City could have imagined, and if Kane is smart, he should be very afraid. Elsewhere, another story quietly unfolds. Audra Charles, usually so calculating, so self-assured, finds herself unraveling in front of Nate Hastings. She admits that seeing him at the society event tore at something inside her, something she thought she had buried. For once, her tone is not manipulative but vulnerable. She asks if there is any way she can reach him, if there is any chance at all of reclaiming what they lost. Nate listens, but his answer is cold, not out of cruelty but out of honesty. He tells her that no matter how many times she says sorry, the memory of her betrayal still haunts him. It is not anger that keeps them apart, it is the scar of trust that cannot be rebuilt. Audra, left standing in the wake of his rejection, feels a pang of heartbreak she did not expect, because for all her ambition, she never stopped wanting him. The threads of these stories weave together in a tapestry of betrayal, alliance, and heartbreak. Billy walks away from his mother convinced that he will never truly be her chosen son. Jill collapses under the weight of her divided loyalties, torn between her faith in Kane and the cries of her wounded child. Jack and Victor, enemies turned allies, prepare to strike at a mutual threat, their truce is fragile as glass but powerful enough to change everything. And Audra, stripped of her mask, faces the harsh truth that some betrayals cannot be undone. In Genoa City, the line between family and enemy, between loyalty and treachery, is always thin, and every choice leaves scars that last a lifetime. In Genoa City, where loyalty and betrayal often walk hand in hand, the unraveling of Nate Hastings and Audra Charles's relationship felt inevitable, yet the way it came to a head left scars that neither could have predicted. For weeks, their connection had been fraying, pulled apart by secrets too heavy to ignore and by wounds that honesty could no longer mend. When they finally stood face to face, the weight of everything left unsaid poured out in words sharp enough to cut through the fragile remnants of their bond. Nate's expression carried exhaustion more than anger. He was a man who had replayed the past too many times in his head, who had turned over every memory like a stone only to find more cracks beneath the surface. With a voice both steady and broken, he admitted what had been festering inside him, that it had taken him an agonizingly long time to say aloud how repulsed he was by everything she had done, that the filth of her choices had left him shaken to the core. He spoke not like a man raging at a lover but like someone standing at a graveside, mourning the death of something once cherished. For him, disgust was not an exaggeration, it was the only word strong enough to capture the bitterness of discovering how deeply he had been deceived. Audra, usually the master of control, faltered. The mask she wore so easily, the confident smirk, the cool composure, the clever retorts, crumbled under the force of his honesty. For the first time, she admitted to something she had hidden even from herself, jealousy. She confessed that she had envied Kyle Abbott, the way his life seemed to fall into place effortlessly, the way his legacy cushioned him even when he stumbled. She admitted that she had often felt forced to claw her way through shadows while others coasted in the light, and that this resentment had twisted her into making choices she wished she could take back. Her voice broke as she told Nate that the woman she was even a month ago was gone, that she had changed, that the fire burning inside her now was one of remorse rather than ambition. She begged him to believe she could be better. But Nate could not forget. He reminded her of Nice, of the trip he had asked her about over and over, the moment she had the chance to come clean but chose instead to lie. Each time, she had looked at him with steady eyes and told him a story that was false, each denial cutting deeper than the last. His voice trembled, not with rage but with sorrow, as he told her that those lies had permanently reshaped the way he saw her. He could not look at her now without seeing the shadows of every betrayal. The woman he once admired, once trusted, once loved, she was gone, replaced by someone he could not recognize. It was not just an act of deceit, it was a transformation that made reconciliation impossible. Audra, realizing the finality of his words, pleaded desperately. She said if she could turn back time, she would undo every mistake. She told him she would erase every manipulation, every selfish act, if it meant holding on to the love they had built. She begged him to give her time, to let her prove that change was possible. Her voice cracked as she admitted she still loved him, that she could still be the woman he needed, if only he would allow her the chance to show it. Her words poured out in a torrent, part confession, part prayer. Nate listened, but the weight of her pleas could not shift the foundation already destroyed. He told her that perhaps she had changed, perhaps she was sincere now in ways she had not been before, but the truth was that he was no longer the man who could believe her. He told her that betrayal had not only altered the way he saw her but had also changed him. It had forced him to harden, to grow in ways he never wanted, and to close doors he once believed would remain open forever. He told her that he could not go back to the man he was before her lies, not with her, not now, not ever. His words landed like the sound of a verdict being read in court, final, undeniable, irreversible. The silence that followed was suffocating. Audra's tears spilled, unrestrained and raw, each sob echoing the devastation of realizing she had lost him for good. She reached for him, her hands trembling, her face etched with desperation, but Nate stepped back, his decision resolute. His eyes lingered on her for only a moment longer, filled with the kind of sorrow that comes from love twisted into grief, before he turned away. His footsteps echoed in the hollow space between them, each step pulling him further from the woman who had once held his heart. Left alone, Audra collapsed under the weight of her choices. For years she had believed she could navigate any storm, that her intelligence and her ambition would always carry her through. But in that moment, stripped of the man who had once anchored her, she felt powerless. She cried until her body ached, the sound of her own sobs reminding her of just how far she had fallen. The woman who once wielded manipulation like a weapon now found herself defeated by the one thing she could not control, the loss of trust. For Nate, the walk away from Audra was both liberation and torment. He had loved her, had envisioned a future where their strengths could complement each other, where their passion could be harnessed for something greater. But now all he carried was the hollow ache of disappointment, the realization that some wounds never heal. He knew Genoa City would whisper about their downfall, that the story would ripple through boardrooms and dinner tables, twisted and exaggerated by those who thrived on gossip. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that he could no longer bear the weight of a relationship built on lies. For Audra, the fallout would be even harsher. Genoa City was not a forgiving place, and reputations once stained were difficult to cleanse. Her tears, sincere though they were, would not erase the memories of deceit in the minds of those who had watched her climb. She had wanted everything, power, love, respect, and now she found herself with nothing. Alone in the aftermath, she whispered promises to herself that she would rise again, that she would rebuild, that she would find a way to prove she was not defined by her worst mistakes. But deep down, even as she plotted her next move, she knew that what she had lost with Nate could never be reclaimed. In the end, their breakup was not just the end of a relationship but the end of an illusion. For Nate, it was the realization that love cannot survive without truth. For Audra, it was the brutal recognition that ambition without integrity destroys everything it touches. In Genoa City, where love and betrayal are currency, their story became another cautionary tale, a reminder that even the strongest attraction can crumble when trust is shattered. And as Nate walked away into the uncertain future and Audra wept in the ruins of her own making, the city held its breath, knowing that this was not the end of their story, but merely the end of a chapter that would haunt them both for years to come.